what was your defining moment? So you were CFO in this company, and
Yep.
what happened to you to make this huge transition in your life?
Yeah, well, I now refer to those days as me living in a Groundhog Day days, because every day was the same and I was not using great sort of coping mechanisms to get through my life. And if anyone had said to me at that time, how do you cope with stress? I would have said, I never get stressed. And from the outside, I looked really successful. I had the career, the job, the salary, house, car, overseas trips, all of those things that, some people can define as success. And I thought I was successful. Though, unfortunately, my husband and I woke up on the 10th of July, 2011, thinking we were having a lazy Sunday at home. Though within minutes, we thought that our youngest son, Dan, by a minute, had fallen asleep at the back door when he'd gone out the night before by himself. Him and his girlfriend had gone out separately. And unfortunately, within, 10 minutes, the ambulance arrived and they announced that he was dead and probably had been for several hours. So as you can imagine, that was the last thing we expected. We thought a healthy 27-year-old had gone out the night before. And at the time, I just carried on. I just carried on as normal. I did everything that I now tell people not to do. I went straight back to work after the funeral, eating more, drinking more, working even harder, just squashing all of my emotions down to just carry on with life. And now, nearly 9 years later, and I realised this a lot earlier, I realised that Dan was never meant to wake up that day. I was meant to wake up that day. And because I didn't, the universe had to send me another slap in the face to try and wake me up out of these Groundhog Day days, which I was firmly, entrenched in. And, in hindsight, so were all of my colleagues. They were all the same as me. They were all just going through the grind of each day and not really coping with the stress of it all. And, we were, working these ridiculous hours and always on alert, because the company that I worked for was a publicly listed company, but we were debt stricken. So it wasn't an easy road as the CFO. So what happened was the company I was working for ended up merging with another, and in that merger process, they had said to me that I wouldn't be the CFO in the new company, but I'd be doing everything I'm doing now, plus more. And I just went, yeah, fine, typical. Until they added about a couple of months later, oh, by the way, Karen, you'll be doing it for 2/3 of your current salary. And initially I was so angry, like, how dare they? How dare they treat me like this? And I was also at an age where I actually went, I am sick and tired of working, really, really hard, other people getting the credit for me. And I knew that if I had taken that job, that would happen again, because I wouldn't have been, like the senior financial person. And I just thought, I'm over people taking credit for my work. But I really quickly realised that, you know what, as much as I love my job, I'm only there for the money. And that was the greatest realisation that I had, because not only did I realise that, which I hadn't before, I also realised I was wasting a lot of that money just to, survive. I certainly wasn't thriving. So it was really easy for me to say, no, I'm taking redundancy. And to their shock, because they really thought that yeah, she'll carry on, all this sort of stuff. But I also had a realisation that if I sat there in that role, it would have eaten me from the inside out. I would have been in resentment. I would not have been my positive, normal self. So they gave me the greatest gift that you can give to anyone, because not only did they give me back and wake me up, they gave me back my life and they gave me back my health, because I started to realize that I wasn't living and loving my life. I was, entrenched in this job. All my relationships were, pretty average compared to what they are now. They were even below average, if I'm honest with myself. But I never realised it. I never realised how angry I was. And a few years ago now, I was on this site, FMTV, with Food Matters TV, and they had a video on there and they were talking about how important it is to get green back into your life. And probably for about 4 or 5 years now, I have a green juice every morning. And, and I love it because it really does lift me up, and it's a great way to go. And on this site, they actually said that if you're always angry, you require more green in your life. And I went, wow, that was me. I didn't have a lot of green when I was in that job, and I was always angry and I'd fly off the handle over nothing. But then I took it one step further, because I thought, oh my God, green is the colour of the heart chakra. And I required more love in my life, not only for others, but for myself. And that to me was, I wasn't living and loving my life. And, along my journey, I also realised that we're the only person we're going to spend our entire life with. So why are we giving up on ourselves and putting ourselves last and not living and loving our lives? So that is, as I said, they gave me the greatest gift, because I probably wouldn't even be alive now if I'd stayed in that job. Who knows? I'm pretty sure I was headed for a heart attack or a stroke or type 2 diabetes, whereas now I'm so healthy. If I was heading that way, I'm pretty sure my green juicing has reversed it. It's amazing. I just love it.
Well, I definitely love the energy that you give off now. It's incredible and infectious. And I can, definitely relate to that. It's incredible how when we feel we're working really hard and we actually feel really resilient, but what we're doing is dumbing down those feelings and actually coming out of that where you are more in touch and you know what your body needs, and you almost feel more sensitive, but it's in a good way, because you now know and can respond correctly to make sure those energy levels are staying, and health and well-being. So thank you so much for sharing that incredible story.
Yeah, oh no, my pleasure, because it really is important for us to just know that our body tells us everything, but because we're so wrapped up in something else, we're not listening to our body at all. And it's, I just love the fact that I can share this knowledge. I wish I had it at a younger age, but that's okay. At least it came. That's what I love.
Yeah. When people, I know when I first heard it, you feel like it is a negative thing, but as you say, there are so many different forms of loss, and if we can knowing that there's resources like yourself out there to help overcome them is really special. So thank you for sharing your gift with the Thrivers community, Karen.
Oh, thank you, Julia. I love chatting with you, and as you've said throughout it, I could talk to you all day too.
Oh, thank you.